On a cold December evening in 1988, Pan Am Flight 103, the Maid of the Seas, soared through the skies, carrying 259 people from London to New York. Most were Americans heading home for Christmas, their hearts full of holiday cheer and anticipation. 38 minutes into the flight, high above the quiet Scottish town of Lockerbie, the plane vanished from radar. On the ground, residents heard a deafening roar, a sound that would haunt them for the rest of their lives. What they witnessed next was a scene from a nightmare, a rain of fire, metal and personal belongings falling from the sky. This wasn't an accident. It was a meticulously planned act of terror that would spark one of the largest and most complex criminal investigations in history. Please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel. We're launching on Substack soon, where we'll be sharing even more in-depth articles and exclusive content. Be sure to stay tuned for that announcement. The night of December 21st, 1988, was just like any other for the residents of Lockerbie. Families were gathered in their homes, preparing for Christmas just 4 days away. Suddenly, at 7:03 p.m., the town was shaken by a massive explosion. The main fuselage of the Boeing 747 slammed into Sherwood Crescent, a residential street, creating a crater 155 feet long and vaporizing several houses instantly. The impact was so immense that it registered 1.6 on the Richter scale. Tragically, 11 residents of Lockerbie lost their lives on the ground, bringing the total death toll to 270 people from 21 different countries. The once peaceful town was transformed into a sprawling crime scene, a field of debris and heartbreak stretching over 845 square miles. In the immediate aftermath, the priority was search and recovery. First responders, police, and local volunteers combed the fields, hills, and forests, searching for survivors. Though it quickly became apparent that there were none from the aircraft, the sheer scale of the devastation was overwhelming. The aircraft had broken into thousands of pieces, scattered across the Scottish countryside. Personal items, Christmas presents, photographs, letters, and clothing were found tangled in trees and buried in the earth, each a poignant reminder of the lives cut short. The investigators knew they were dealing with something more sinister than a simple mechanical failure. The question was, what had brought down a jumbo jet from 31,000 feet? The investigation, known as Operation Autumn Leaves, was the largest in British history. Thousands of police officers and investigators were involved. Their first major breakthrough came from the wreckage itself. Air accident investigators meticulously pieced together what they could of the plane. They discovered that the explosion had originated in the forward cargo hold. The search then narrowed, focusing on tiny fragments of debris recovered from the crash site. After months of painstaking work, sifting through millions of pieces of evidence, they found it, a tiny fragment of a circuit board, no bigger than a fingernail. This wasn't just any circuit board. It was part of a sophisticated electronic timer. Forensic analysis traced this timer to a Swiss company, Mebo AG. The investigators learned that Mebo had supplied these specific timers to Libya. This was a crucial link. Further examination of the debris led to another breakthrough. A fragment of a shirt was found embedded in a piece of the plane's metal fuselage. The shirt was traced back to a small boutique in Malta. The shop's owner, Tony Gossi, remembered selling the shirt. His testimony would become a cornerstone of the prosecution's case. He recalled the buyer, a man he described as Libyan, who also bought other items. This evidence trail, from the timer to the clothing, was beginning to point directly at 2 Libyan intelligence agents. The suspects were identified as Abdel Basset al-Megrahi and Lamin Khalifa Fima. The theory was that they had placed a bomb inside a Toshiba radio cassette player, packed it into a Samsonite suitcase along with the clothes bought in Malta, and routed it as unaccompanied luggage onto a flight from Malta to Frankfurt. From Frankfurt, it was transferred to the feeder flight for Pan Am 103 in London, and then loaded onto the doomed jet. In 1991, the United States and Scotland issued arrest warrants for Megrahi and Finney, and demanded that Libya hand them over for trial. For years, Libya's leader Muammar Gaddafi refused. This led to years of sanctions imposed by the United Nations, crippling the Libyan economy. The diplomatic standoff continued until the late 1990s, when a compromise was reached. The 2 suspects would be tried by a special Scottish court, but it would be held in a neutral country, the Netherlands. The trial, at a former U.S. airbase called Camp Zeist, began in May 2000. It was a trial unlike any other, conducted under Scottish law on foreign soil. The prosecution's case relied heavily on the testimony of Tony Gossi, the Maltese shopkeeper, and the forensic evidence linking the timer fragment to Libya. However, the defense argued that the evidence was circumstantial, and that Gossi's identification of Megrahi was unreliable, especially since he had seen a picture of Megrahi in a magazine before identifying him in a lineup. The defense also presented alternative theories suggesting that other groups possibly based in Syria and backed by Iran were responsible for the bombing as retaliation for the downing of an Iranian passenger plane by a U.S. warship earlier that year. The trial lasted for 84 days, and the verdict, delivered in January 2001, was a split decision. Lamin Khalifa Fhimma was acquitted of all charges and returned to Libya a free man. Abdelbaset al-Megrahi, however, was found guilty of murder and sentenced to life in prison, with a minimum of 27 years. The verdict was met with mixed reactions. Many of the victims' families felt that justice had been served, but others, including some legal experts, and even the father of one of the victims, Dr. Jim Swire, believed Megrahi was innocent and a scapegoat in a much larger political game. The controversy didn't end there. In 2009, Megrahi, who had been diagnosed with terminal prostate cancer, was released from a Scottish prison on compassionate grounds by the Scottish government. The decision was met with outrage, particularly from the U.S. government and American victims' families. They believed a convicted mass murderer was being allowed to go free. Megrahi returned to a hero's welcome in Libya and lived for nearly 3 more years, far longer than the 3 months he was expected to survive, further fueling the controversy surrounding his release. Over the years, the case has been subject to numerous appeals and reviews. Many questions remain. Was the evidence against Megrahi truly strong enough for a conviction? Was Tony Gossi's testimony reliable? Did political pressures influence the outcome of the trial and Megrahi's subsequent release? Some believe the full truth about who ordered, financed, and executed the Lockerbie bombing has never been fully revealed. Was it just Megrahi, or was he part of a wider conspiracy involving senior figures in the Libyan regime, or perhaps even other countries? The story of the Lockerbie bombing is a complex tapestry of tragedy, forensic science, international politics, and enduring mystery. It's a story that reminds us of the devastating human cost of terrorism and the long, often frustrating, quest for justice. For the families of the 270 victims, the pain never truly goes away. Their search for answers and accountability continues to this day, a testament to their love for those they lost and their unwavering hope that the complete truth will one day come to light. The memorial in Lockerbie and the one at Arlington National Cemetery stand as somber reminders of that dark day in December, ensuring that the victims of Pan Am Flight 103 are never forgotten. Thank you so much for watching. What are your thoughts on the case? Do you believe justice was served? Let me know in the comments below.